Hi, it is day 59 of 365 days of realizations. Trina right here. And if you don't know who I am, I make videos that help you be fully on the spiritual path in a conscious and awake way and to just really sink into who you really are. And today, what I want to talk about is meditation. And I want to talk about it from a little bit of a different perspective. So, why meditate? I mean, if we're on the spiritual path, it just seems like meditation and spirituality sort of go together, right? It doesn't matter if you're in the empowerment or the enlightenment side of things, there's value in meditation. And so, from where I sit, in my perspective, the most value comes from that moment of being able to sink into ourselves, like being able to just sort of separate ourselves from the outside illusion and bring ourselves fully back into this inner landscape, to this inner space. And the more that we do that, the more that then that can become our resting place. That can become the space from which we're grounded and centered in. Because most people, even though that is our natural space of being, most people don't live in that space. They've lost that. They've lost the naturalness of it, and they come from more of a outer focused viewpoint, an outer focused experience. So that whatever's going on outside of us, again, in that see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, touch it world, that is ultimately our creation, is what gets our attention. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just the power of meditation is to be able to shut that down, to sort of have a point of reset. I mean, if you're constantly creating everything, you're constantly getting your reflection and you're working with it. I mean, if you're really using it as the tool that all of this is for us, which is you get the reflection and then it helps you to empty of all the stuff that you've picked up on the path, all the stuff that you erroneously picked up when you didn't know anything about your creatorship. You didn't know anything about being an energy being. And now you're still carrying it, and you're still bringing it to moment after moment. So pausing in meditation, resetting in meditation, just being able to like come home to yourself, so to speak. And what I mentioned before, build up this inner landscape of you. And when I see hypnotherapy clients, I often begin the first session just simply with saying, let's create a space inside of yourself, a space that you can go. And it depends on where the person is in their own journey, because this is an imaginative process. It's an imaginative creation. So it can be as many different things as there are people to suit where they're at. So it could simply be a safe space. It could be a retreat space. It could be a place where you can more easily hear guidance or connect deeper with your intuition on all different kinds of levels. It could be a space that you really, really sink into source, a space that you really attune to your inner being, to that love and light, to the infinite, to creator, to God. It could be all of those things. But the nice thing is whatever you choose that space to be, you're cultivating it. And so whatever it starts as today is the most beautiful place to start. It's like planting this beautiful garden inside of yourself. Because let's face it, for most people, it has been kind of neglected. They've been busy going about their life, focusing on the outer world, creating so much in the outer world, whether unconsciously or consciously, still having that focus on the things and the stuff. We put a lot of energy into our homes, and we put a lot of energy into our body vehicles, and we put a lot of energy into our family, into raising children and cultivating careers and doing all these things that like are our outward expression that we often forget. What is this? What is the inner? And I don't mean your body, because you're not your body. But you feel at times like you live in your body, and you feel at times like you take some space. I mean, again, I can't answer that because it depends on where each person watching this, where each being lands with it. And so if you sit in awareness all the time, then you're in a little bit of a different place than if you don't even know what that statement means. And it's more just about wanting to connect more fully with something, just something that you feel, this little yearning that you have inside that says, you know what, there's something else here. There's more to me than I know. And this is accessible. That's the beautiful thing about meditation, is it's accessible to everybody, no matter where they are on their own journey with themselves. Even if they're not spiritual, there's still a level of meditation that can help everyone. And that's what's so powerful and so cool about it. And so I think it's important to be cognizant, be a conscious and awake about not a goal, because I think the nicest, most best way to approach meditation is, in essence, to not have a goal, or to just have the goal be just what I said. I'm going to step away from the outer and move into the inner. And then, of course, there's a whole bunch of things you can do once you're in there. But I really love this notion of cultivating an inner landscape to attune to whatever it is that you feel most comfortable, what resonates most with you. If you know you're a being of love and light and an energy being, then attune to that. If you know you have an inner being, attune to that. If you just want to feel more peace and less stress, or more peace and more consciousness, then see this as the one time where like everything goes, it just all shuts down and you come back fully into that clarity. And of course, since I'm all about loving yourself full and all about how can we remember who we really are, how can we know that so fully and have an experience of it, that's one of the tools that meditation offers. One of the other parts of meditation that I think comes up sometimes is an efforting component that often comes up for people in the pursuit of something. You know, everything we do, as I said, everything outward is often about like, what do we create, what manifests from like work or from efforting or from, you know, even you grow a beautiful garden or you landscape your house and you're expecting to see something, some evidence of that. You remodel your house or you redecorate your house, like all of those kind of things, which are all really valuable. But so when you enter into this state of meditation, it's sometimes easy to then make it another thing that you need to do, and some efforting that needs to be involved, which sort of in some ways negates the purpose, because the purpose is to just relax in and have that experience. And so depending again upon where someone is on the path, whether you're like an epic meditator, but you're curious about how to share it with other people in your family, maybe your kids, maybe your partner who don't know what meditation is or haven't really experienced it, or whether you're just new on the path of this, or anywhere in between. And even if you've been someone that's meditated for a long time, it's good to revisit this. It's good to play with it, because it's easy to sort of get into a rut and to just be like, check it off your list. Yep, I meditated today. But if you're not feeling that, like, again, not that there's a purpose to it, but in the consciousness, the awakeness, and the intentionality about being a spiritually conscious being on the spiritual path by choice, moving into that space of knowing who you really are, then ideally, when we meditate, we're going to feel some ease, some peace. We're going to feel something different than what we feel when we're not meditating, so to speak. And again, that will shift. Like at some point there will be no difference. But one of the key things I've noticed is when we meditate and we're really making that a point and we amplify it and we make it a key part of our practice, what happens between the times that we meditate? Because there's a lot of importance in that space. So for me, I get up first thing in the morning and I energize and then do yoga and then I meditate. And the energization and the yoga feel to me like calling myself back into the center of my being, to the whole knowing that I am energy in a body, to move the pranic energy up and down, which then helps to ready myself to step into that deeper place. Now, in all honesty, when I sit in meditation, it isn't that much different than the rest of my day-to-day experience. I mean, sometimes it's like this epic journey somewhere, and other times it's just being, and it's just this like feeling, this filling up from the inside out of like the truth of like me, of like this well of well-being that is just there for me. And then when I finish and I start to move about my day, and I have a fairly easy life in the sense that I do parenting and do stuff with my children initially, and then I have a lot of space and spacious time during doing the work that I do at home on the computer. I'm always at home mostly. I come and walk in nature when I want. So I have a lot of ease around a lot of those things. but still being conscious about like, so how active is my mind? How busy is my mind? And now that I'm on this entrepreneurial path of wanting to move forward and offering these very things that I'm talking about to a larger number of people, so I'm moving forward into that, then does my mind get all clogged up and busy when I have something I have to do? Or do I find that it's really active? And being aware of that, being conscious about it, like noticing when I move from the space of this relaxation, this place of like awareness and consciousness to something else. So for me, the key part of meditation is, can I then extend it into the rest of my life? Or can I even aspire to and get to a point where it's like my life is a meditation? Like I come out here and walk around because I love the way it feels, and it amplifies the feeling that I already have, just like meditation amplifies the feeling that I already have of being grounded and being centered and having little to no thoughts and just being in flow, which is what I want. Someone else may want something totally different. And so I encourage you to think about, with meditation, what is it that you're hoping to have? Like, what's the experience that you're wanting to have, without putting too many labels on it, without getting too caught up in it? Just what is that experience that you're going for? And feel into it and be okay with whatever it is, and recognize that there isn't a right way to do it. There's like almost as many ways to connect with this, as this inner aspect of ourselves, to know who you really are, as there are beings on this planet. And it might change. One day it might feel like this, and another day it might feel like that. Sometimes for me, it's really sitting just in silence. It's just being like quiet, like just quiet, and feeling into what's under the quiet. Sometimes I try to be in the quiet and so many thoughts come. The difference is that then it becomes the practice of not identifying with the thoughts, seeing them not even as mine, like just acknowledging them and just watching them float away like clouds. Sometimes I use a mantra. Sometimes I simply watch my breath. It just depends on sort of what I feel is being called forth. Sometimes I go on some epic journey to that inner landscape where I just really want to process some energy, or I want to move something, or I want to shift something. And I also see other components of meditation that maybe other people wouldn't call meditation. Like, I think surrender is often a really big example of meditation, because when you're in a state of surrender, and the type of surrender I mean is, you've been triggered, you don't deal with the outward trigger, in the sense of, you don't go argue with the person that caused you to feel its trigger. You recognize that it's coming from inside of you, and some stuff that you want to empty, because that's what you're doing on the spiritual path, is emptying. And then you sit with the trigger, you sit with whatever has arisen up within you in response to that, like whatever the thoughts are, like I'm not good enough, or I'm going to be alone, or that person doesn't love me anymore, that person hates me, or I'm stupid, or whatever the thought is. You just sit with it, not in a way that amplifies it, but you just sit with it. You just sit with it, and then you have like a dialogue with it, or you have like a moment of presence with it, and that can be very, very meditative. I mean, why did it arise, and what is it trying to show you? And most of the time it's trying to say, you know what, I'm still hanging around here because you've got a tiny bit of something in your vibration that still resonates with me. And then you can say, wow, thank you for showing me yourself. I don't want to resonate with you anymore. Oh yeah, thank you very much, thought, for showing yourself to me, and the whole belief system that's likely attached to it. And I am now ready to let it go. And so that can be a very meditative process. So I encourage you to really think about just different ways. I also feel like I meditate when I am in nature. Like, I just love the feeling. I feel like there's something so visceral about connecting with myself, and also something so like, I don't know, it just pulls me into this remembering that I had something to do with creating this whole projection that I see, this whole illusion, every intricate little detail of every little tree, of all the kinds of trees, of all the different leaves of trees, of the dirt on the ground, of just all of it. It's just like, when you tap into that and you're like in that space of knowing that you created all of it, wow, it's just really a cool space to sit. And I see that as a walking meditation. And sometimes I walk, and every step I take is like as if I am stepping into more of the fullness of who I am. And every step I take, I feel like I am walking with my inner being. I am walking with source. And sometimes I feel like I am just being like bathed with that love with every single step. It's amplified, 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 as if the earth and I are connecting. Like, there's so many cool things and cool ways that we can approach meditation. So I just encourage you, if you don't do it, to try it out, do it as an experiment. If you do it, then see how you can amplify it and how you can make this deeper for yourself. Again, with like little to no purpose, except I like the way it feels, and I want to feel the truth of my own self rising within me in whatever shape, form that takes, because I'm not attached to that. I know that when I settle, when I ground, when I give myself that space to move more into that inward place and to reset this, it makes a big, big difference. And that's another nice way that you can talk to someone else that maybe you want to share about meditation and encourage them to meditate, because I mean, all the research says it helps reduce stress, a lot of those kind of things. For people that maybe aren't being on a conscious spiritual path, it can be a lifesaver, literally. I mean, it can really help people to shift some things within their own life, and for them to feel like they have a space to come back home and to reset and to relax. And even like say that it's a technique that someone was to use when they needed to make a decision. It just gives some space to things. That's one of the things I love about meditation, is it gives you space. Like, it just immediately gives you space. And I just want to end with this tiny little technique, which is basically, when you're not in it sitting down, like I'm going to formally meditate right now, or sit down and, be really conscious about this. I'm just going through my day. Take a pause every once in a while. Just take a pause. Close your eyes. And just be in that space of beingness. Like, just be. Like, just do it for a couple seconds. Again, no expectation, but just let the mind settle. And when you first start doing it, you're going to maybe notice that lots of thoughts come in. But that's okay. Just notice the thoughts and notice that they're not your thoughts, or they're not you. Just let them be. Go back to your life and just see how that goes. See that as a way to bring more meditative flow into your life, more of the energy that we have in meditation. So I hope that some of that was helpful. And again, this is just a game. It's all just an illusion. We're all just playing. And this is a fun way to play with the different elements, the different aspects of our beingness, and how much do we want to always have our focus be outward, and how much could we bring it inward in just a nice, easy, gentle way. So I will see you tomorrow. Bye.